Hey, thank you very much for coming along today, Kathy. We've really enjoyed the presentation that you did to the students. But I'd just like to recap on a few things that you said. My first question to you is, it's actually 25 years now since you finished your own, or possibly more than that, since you finished your own PhD. What are the key memories that are still with you after all these years about doing a PhD?
I think one of the most important ones, which impacts on how I behave now as a supervisor and as an examiner, is my own experience of how significant doing the PhD was. So I know for an individual student how it feels on the day of the Viva, how you feel nervous, how it's important for the development of your career. And I often think to myself that I should never forget what it felt like on that day of the Viva when I go in to examine doctoral students now, because I think it's really important to remember what a significant rite of passage that is. So I think that's the first one. I think the second one is I had a wonderful supervisor who was called Mike Fitter, who said to me once that, you know, there wasn't any point in doing research unless you really wanted to change something, which I thought was a really good piece of advice. And he was there throughout the process. I think appropriately close and appropriately distant, but was always there for advice. And so I think I learned a lot from that process of having a good supervisor about how to supervise others as well. I remember that as a very positive experience. And I think the third thing is, because I wrote up my PhD part-time, it was really important to be organised. So I was very organised in particular blocks. So, for example, I would go every Friday to the office and just write all day and do bits on the weekends or whatever. So it was very much about the organisation skills in terms of having a very limited time needed to complete something. So I think those are the things I remember.
Do you think the PhD experience is different today from what you experienced?
I think there's far more of a focus on research training, which I think is a good thing. And I think that's because what I think we're looking for more today is that somebody has got to the situation where we trust them to go out and conduct academic research. So to conduct it in a suitably appropriate methodological manner, in a suitably appropriate ethical manner, etc. So I think research training has become far more important, and a key criterion now has changed, so that it's about the extent to which you're properly qualified, as well as making a contribution to knowledge. I think also we have far larger cohorts now, but I think that's nice because the student's part of a larger network of other people who are going through exactly the same process. So I think that's changed. I also think there's a lot more resources, a lot more recognition of what doctoral students offer to the research culture of a school. So I think also, hopefully, schools are potentially more welcoming. Not that my experience wasn't welcoming, but I think that's changed as well.
These are important differences.
Yeah.
So if you think about going through the entire PhD process now, what would your three nuggets be, your three nuggets of advice, most important advice for a PhD student?
I think one is to think about being organised and how you're going to structure the work and the planning of it. In fact, it was interesting that Derek Pugh, who sadly passed away recently, he wrote a book called How to Get a PhD, talked to me once about my experience of writing mine every Friday and used that as a case study in his book. So I think that idea of actually being organised in how you're going to write up the work is, particularly if you're part-time. I think a second thing would be that be prepared to learn and be prepared to change. So I think sometimes, because we have to have an idea in mind when we apply for a PhD programme, we often think that that's what we've got to deliver on. And actually there's all kinds of awakenings on the way, methodological awakenings, theoretical awakenings, which mean we might go in a different direction. And as long as that fits in okay with the supervisory team, the funding body, then be prepared to learn and to change. And I think the other thing is to be prepared to take advantage of all the opportunities that are available to you as part of a school like this, the opportunities to link with lots of different staff, to go to seminars, to learn through conferences, to really make the most of those and what they offer to you in the development of an academic career.
Sounds very positive. I guess my final question to you is, you did mention the importance of learning to manage your supervisor.
Oh, yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that and explain why that's important?
I think it's about a relationship, and I think sometimes we might be a bit in awe of our supervisors because they're obviously, you know, very senior academics, they know a lot and things like that. But also because they have busy lives, I think it's good to think about how you can potentially manage that relationship in terms of being explicit if you have particular needs in relation to feedback, or if there are other things happening in your life that they need to know about. Things like preparing for the meetings to make sure you get the most out of them, so sending working beforehand so that they can comment on it. But I think it's about being open about you are going to have to work with this person closely for a few years. So to talk to them about how you work, about how they work, and what's the best way of doing it. For example, because my diary is always very booked up months in advance at work, with my students we will always arrange meetings a year ahead. We will have a whole series of meetings scheduled in, because that's how I work best. And if they want to manage me to make sure they see me enough, we have that conversation at the beginning.
Hopefully, by managing your supervisory relationship well while you're a student, you also learn to become a good supervisor.
Yes, hopefully.
In due course.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's taking the long-term view, which I think is very important for a PhD.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things, clearly, the one experience you have of supervision is where it's happened to you. So it's bound to impact on your own experience later in life. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great point to finish, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you. I've enjoyed my trip to Strathclyde today. Thank you very much.